Hello and welcome to the latest Friday Afternoon Live. I'm Kevin Reid. Very sober Kevin Reid. No beer for me this week. I'm not in the pub. Unfortunately, I'm at home. But I feel like I need a stiff drink, but unfortunately it's just my tea in my favourite Arsenal cup. We're going to talk about Brexit implications. Some of you out there will be sad and emotional. Many of you will be concerned. And some of you will be elated. We've seen some of that from accountants and some business people. What does it all mean for the accounting practitioner or their clients? I guess they're kind of inextricably linked. Well, we know that Rome wasn't built in a day. I'm not sure how long it took to be destroyed. I don't know whether we're actually trying to build a little empire again. Although from the views of Nicola Sturgeon, that's probably unlikely to be the case, and probably that's a good point for me to step away from historical metaphors. What we do know is that there is going to be uncertainty. The longer this drags on, the worse it's going to be. We know that purse strings will tighten and investment is likely to be scaled back. And when this happens, it creates a negative impact on the economy, and this then, upshot of that is that it affects practitioners because they tend to then not be involved in undertaking and advising around transactional services or advising on financing if everything kind of freezes up. Different viewpoints as well that we've had already. ICAS's CEO Anton Kallela has called for decisive action to end uncertainty, and within the last few minutes, obviously the EU have called on the UK to move quickly and undertake Article 50 and begin their process of leaving the EU sooner rather than later. Many of the business bodies and Grant Thornton's COO Robert Hanna has urged kind of like calm reflection, while others, there have been others that have called for things to be moved really quickly. Obviously there isn't a clear path ahead. That means uncertainty, and I've already outlined that's not good. I'm sad because if you excuse the phrasing, in an increasingly global world, if that makes any sense, it kind of feels like we've pulled up the barriers rather than try and open them, and I'm sure there'll be some people that will argue the toss on that one and say actually we're moving towards the opposite of that. We're freeing ourselves. I think it's kind of tiring really for the business community, because post 2007 it's been really tough several years, and we seem to have kind of had some stability, and that seems to have been ended, and the timing feels rotten on that front as we're starting to really push on. We can talk about big data and the use of technology to help make the right business decisions, but it is still very much about people and sentiment, and what impact will negative sentiment towards the UK's move have on inbound investment. Is something I think that really needs to be well considered. We might see the government when we're talking about tax matters. We might see an emergency budget from the government, which I'm dreading. I'm knackered. I don't think I can do another budget. But as part of that process, we may see some tax cuts introduced or new strategies to try and encourage foreign spending or inbound investment, which obviously would kind of be quite ironic, bearing in mind we're looking to shift out of the free market as such. And of course, another irony is that the weaker pound makes it more attractive for people from abroad to come and holiday here. So maybe we'll see the tourism industry get a little bit of a boost over the next few weeks and months. Then again, if we're talking about, segueing slightly awkwardly back to technology, it's very important to modern accounting practices. And with the economy likely to stutter or kind of freeze up, the practitioners that in recent years have streamlined themselves and readied themselves for the modern world are the ones that will will survive during this time. And obviously the world is moving so fast that you do need to kind of be agile, manage your costs and therefore your margins, and ultimately use technology to kind of better provide services to clients. And anyone that's watched Friday afternoon live broadcasts in the past will know that that's a topic that I often cover. On that note, we've seen Deloitte announce its cloud-driven SME offering, which is called Propel. And this kind of Sage-driven cloud offering is aimed to kind of help Deloitte work more closely with the SME market. At PwC, they have My Finance Partner offering. KPMG has obviously made a massive push into the SME space, and Geniac is tied very closely to Grant Thornton. I just missed that question there, so if you could ask that again, my apologies. I'm trying to read the script and answer questions as they come in at the same time. So on the Deloitte front, that's with everything else that's going on. This is also a kind of an ongoing concern for the smaller practices. Do you stay kind of quite arrogant about the big four? The big four often accused of being arrogant themselves and that they can do anything that they want. Smaller practices can be arrogant and say, well, we would always be the ones that can provide the best service to kind of like local or smaller clients because of that face-to-face service that we offer as part of the package. But obviously, if the big four firms are in, and the likes of Grant Thornton are finding ways of managing their cost and their processes to be able to offer a kind of quite highly automated service to their clients, while I guess also then having the opportunity with some of those high growth ones to offer them more particular advice, which no doubt would be more expensive, then that is effectively another market entrant up in the SME space, and one that needs to be taken really, really seriously. So Stuck in a Desert asks a question: will foreign companies move if corporate tax increases to offset the government revenue? I don't kind of profess to be a huge tax expert, and always hard to gauge the government's strategy around tax, but they do talk about tax as being an issue where they try and use tax to encourage investment. They've talked about carrying on reducing the corporation tax rate, there have been suggestions that moving out of the EU we may be able to streamline the kind of the labyrinthine tax system and rules that we have in place, and obviously a more simpler tax regime would make us more attractive for inbound investment. And as I suggested earlier, I think there is an option for the UK government and for the Treasury to perhaps put some measures in place to make sure that anyone kind of like that toss of a coin moment or going through the process of thinking about whether to invest in the UK, that they actually do so. Right, okay, so I've been rattling on for a few minutes there. It was nice to get a question. It's greatly appreciated. Ironically, the message, I think, folks, so the most parochial of messages appears to be keep calm and carry on. I think that means keep calm, keep drinking tea if you're lucky enough to be heading off to the pub and not frantically trying to keep clients assuage their fears. Then good luck to you. There's plenty of articles already on Accountancy Age and Financial Director that you go and head for, where we've curated some of the most salient points for either the accounting practitioner or for the finance director, CFO. We have the CFO agenda. We have the CFO agenda on Tuesday, and we're going to have Alistair Darling there, and I think that for the CFOs that have registered for that event, it's a must attend, because he's going to have some fascinating pointers on that front. And I did notice that other question around the Swiss, how long it took the Swiss to negotiate their kind of tax deals or their trade deals. That is the big risk with all of this. Are we all going to kind of freeze up as we try and untangle ourselves? Right, I'm going to leave you to it. I have the rest of the afternoon off, so lucky me. And I hope you guys have a good afternoon and a good weekend, and see you on the other side. Bye.